Hi, good morning, Facebook. So today is day 24 out of 25 of my mental health awareness challenge. And as you can see, very excited. So after today's video, we have one more to go. And I'm really looking forward to that. So today, like I said previously, I'm going to be talking about social media and mental health. And that's really very important. So if you know a parent or or a youth leader or a mentor, a coach, anyone who works with children, anyone who works with young people, anyone who has an interest of young people at heart, please do share this video with them. I really believe that the content I'm going to share can really help somebody along their way. If you know a youth pastor, a youth worker, somebody who works in mental health of young people as well, please share this video with them and let's all get the message out. Let's all join in the campaign of helping our young people to become socially balanced and mentally well adults. So it's social media and mental health. And lest I forget, a shout out to my dear friend Victoria Lawrence, who was the one who nominated me on this to go on this mental health awareness challenge. So social media and mental health, to start with, let's look at the magnitude of social media use. We know from, according to Digital to 2020, we are the socials piece of research that came out in January 2020. It actually shows that currently we have 4.5 billion internet users across the globe. That's 4.5 billion. And how many social media users do we have? We have 3.8 billion. I said B, not me. Billion social media users across the globe. That's about just over 50% of people across the globe use the social media. So what we are talking about here is huge. It's huge. And on the average, they say people spend about 144 minutes. That's a little over 2.5 hours or just under 2.5 hours every day on social media on the average. And that on the average, we handle about 40 email checks daily. And what is in fact even more intriguing is that after bedtime, the average teenager sends 34 text messages after bedtime. Note that. Now, we also do know that the research also shows that between Facebook and WhatsApp, on a daily basis, not weekly, but on a daily basis, they handle about 60 billion messages. So that's the magnitude of what we are talking about here. And the average person has about 8 social media accounts. So it's quite a big thing in terms of social media. And now, so what's the impact of social media on mental health, particularly on the mental health of young people? I want to start out by being balanced because I need to point out that actually this message is getting to you through social media. The reason why you are getting this message is because you're on one social media platform or the other. So it's important to be balanced. However, it's also important to highlight what the possible damaging effect of social media can be on mental health. So in digesting this video, my challenge to you will be not to throw away the baby with the bath water. There is always the risk to do that. Please don't throw away the baby with the bath water. Let's take things in perspective and just be balanced in the way we take this message. So in terms of mental health and social media, there's quite a lot of research that has gone into this, and particularly for young people. And there's quite a number of associations that has been made. We know, for instance, that social media use, particularly increased social media use, has been associated in young people with depression. It's been associated with body image dissatisfaction. Young people who just don't like the way they look or their nose or their weight or something about them that they don't like. It's been associated with suicidal ideas. It's been associated with acts of self-harm. It's been associated with cyberbullying. And of course, it's been associated with disordered patterns of eating. So some people have disordered eating or patterns of eating. So those are things that have been strongly linked between social media, increased social media use, and of course also poor sleep. And what are the warning signs that this may be the case, particularly for the young people? One of them is excessive use of social media time. Now, what does excessive use of social media time mean? What it means is the research that we know so far, that we have so far, suggests that when people use between 1 to 3 hours of social media time daily, the impact that it has on their mental health is significant. However, when it then becomes more than 5 hours, we then have a more pronounced effect. So that's what the research shows, that 1 to 3 hours, you begin to get some evidence of mental difficulties. However, for people who use more than 5 hours, that's when the impact really becomes pronounced. And who are the people that are more likely to be affected? We know that girls are more likely to be affected than boys. We also do know that children who are from lone parent families and low income and in families have been most affected. This is not any bias against anyone, it's just what the research shows. So those are things to bear in mind. The other thing to bear in mind is that excessive use of, I've said that it's excessive use that is really the key factor here. The other things that will make you know that maybe your child or the person in your charge, or that you yourself, you are using too much social media time, is when social media is being prioritized. Social media time or social media relationships are prioritized over face-to-face contacts or over social relationships in real life. The other thing is a compelling urge to post everything about your life on social media. There are people who want to post their dinner, breakfast, and lunch on social media. It's almost like if you sneeze, you want the social media world to know about it. That is a warning sign that things are not particularly right. So, and of course, the other thing is when you begin to compare your life with the life of those that you see on social media, that to the point in which you become envious or begin to get jealous about what's happening in their lives, and you begin to set the standards of your life according to the standards of what you see on social media, then those are warning signs that there's something wrong. So really, what are the things that could be done? Because we now know that social media can be harmful. However, I said that I was going to be balanced. I also want to say that social media can have a very positive impact. For instance, what I'm using it to do now, there are other things. I want to particularly bring attention to something that was significantly done by a young person as well. In fact, a young person who is no longer here with us, sadly. In 2011, a young girl who was 9 years old at the time, called Rachel Beckwith, had a wish. She was going to turn 9, and it was going to be her 9th birthday, and her desire was to raise $300. She lived in Washington, Seattle in Washington. Her desire was to raise $300 with a view to provide water for children who were without water in a part of Africa. It turned out to be Ethiopia, actually. And sadly, she didn't hit this target. She was only able to raise $220, and she was disheartened by this. However, what was even more disheartening was that a month after this campaign, which she had done through social media, a month after then, she did actually die from a fatal road traffic accident. But thankfully, her parents then took on this challenge, and over a few months, they were able to raise $1.2 million. $1.2 million for this cause. So this girl, even though she was now dead, she was still speaking. And with that $1.2 million, they were able to provide water to places in Ethiopia, providing water to almost 380,000, a population of 380,000 people who would otherwise have had no water. This was in 2011. So this is just to show that social media is not always negative. It's about how we use it and the intention. It's about being intentional about our use of social media. So now, what are the things that can be done to really help you to use social media wisely and not to affect your mental health adversely? Like we said, is the length of time on social media that is really the danger here. And one of the things, the first thing to do is to limit your social media time. And the only way you can limit that is to monitor your social media time. And there are certain apps, both on Android and on the iOS platforms, that are called time well spent apps. They are called time well spent apps. There are several of them. I don't want to recommend any of them, but if you install that on your phone or on any of your systems, it can actually help you to monitor how much social media time you are using, and it can also tell you. You can also set a target. So this is an app that parents, for instance, might want to be interested in using to help their children to monitor social media time. The other thing is education. So apart from monitoring time, educate yourself. Parents need to know, people who are working with young people need to know about the dangers of social media, and schools need to be teaching this as well. Thankfully, some schools are already taking that up to really teach young people the impact that social media could have on their lives and the danger that it could expose them to. Of course, we also know that there's cyber grooming out there, young people who are being groomed for sexual activities on social media. So it's important to educate oneself. The other thing, for instance, to know is that if you're a young person and you're aspiring to build a career in the future, you're aspiring to go into any of the noble professions, be aware that your social media usage could actually be part of your interview criteria in the future. Employers have admitted that they actually they snoop on potential employees, job applicants, to look at their social media profile to see what they do outside of work in order to decide whether they should actually be offered a job or not. So do be careful before you put that post up, before you think carefully about it. And it's all about education. The other thing is that you can actually adopt social media for a positive cause. Be intentional about it. For instance, there are several positive things that are happening on social media currently, and there's so many positive things that will continue to happen. So decide that this is the course you want to pursue, and then use social media to drive that, rather than just use it as a place to while away the time or to compare yourself with other people. And of course, the other thing is about being self-aware. Begin to look at the impact that social media is having on your mental health. If you find that there are certain people whose posts make you feel unnerved, people who make you feel like you're not good enough, that like you don't measure up, people whose posts are negative, then you can unfollow them. And the good thing about unfollowing people is that they just cease to appear in your social media feed. They don't actually recognize that you are no longer following them. You don't need to unfriend them completely if you are afraid about upsetting them, but you can unfollow them. And that means that you are not at least exposed to that negative impact that it could have on your life. And the other thing is you could block them as well. So in terms of still what you can do regarding your social media and mental health, you could also enroll on closed forums. So there are certain forums that are actually very positive on social media. What you could do is to enroll on them and interact in those places. And the use of closed social media forums is a good thing because it also helps to prevent negative impacts on those forums, so you can protect the members of the forum. And of course, really reflecting on your long-term goals and relating them to your social media use. I've talked about your career goals, for instance. Think about the impact that your social media posts could be having on your future. And of course, the fact that mental health is very important. You need to make every effort to preserve your mental health and to maintain your mental well-being. So these are simple steps that both young people and parents and people who are carers for young people or workers with young people can take in order to be civil on social media and in order to pay more attention to mental health, the mental health impact of social media. And out there as well, there are a number of resources that are out there now. One of them is a website called Ditch the Label, as in Label, Ditch the Label. And it's a website particularly to support people who have experienced bullying in one way or the other. That's one website that you could also seek support from if you're a parent, for instance, or you're a school teacher or anyone who is dealing with people who are encountering bullying. That's one website to go on to. And the other website that I'm quite happy to talk about is the Every Mind Matters website. It's www.nhs.uk/1U. That's 1U, ONEYOU, 1U / every mind matters /. So that's www.nhs.uk/1U / every mind matters /. And if it's something you're interested in, all you need to do is just search out Every Mind Matters on Google, and it will bring up that website. And that's a website that is heavily endorsed by the NHS, and it's full of information, particularly for young people and their parents and people who care for them, on how to maintain a positive mental health and mental well-being at this time, particularly for young people from Black ethnic minority backgrounds. And this is in the aftermath of the impact of COVID-19 crisis and how that has affected the mental well-being of young people, particularly because we do know that young people have reported increasing levels of anxiety, given all the difficulties associated with COVID-19, the social isolation, going back to school to a new world, having to social distance, having to deal with loss. So that's a website that I highly recommend, and I'm quite pleased that I also had the privilege and the privilege and pleasure of talking about this on a radio broadcast a few days ago, or actually yesterday, on the Ujimo radio at Bristol. So that broadcast I'll be sharing with you as soon as it's edited and live. But once again, I'm quite happy to share with you the content to recommend to you the content of Every Mind Matters, which is really something that I'm quite happy it's available. So that's social media and mental health. I'm keen to hear your comments. I'm keen to hear from you. Please share your experiences. What do you do as a parent to help your children? What do you do as a youth pastor, as a youth worker? How do you help young people with managing social media time and impact on mental health? And tomorrow, which is day 25, I'm going to be sharing some very exciting news about how to take this forward. And also, I'm going to be sharing one of the most remarkable videos, I think, in this series, and it's about thinking habits. How does your thinking affect your mental health? How does it affect your mental well-being? And like I said in the past videos, people try to teach you what to think, but not how to think. What are dysfunctional thinking patterns? What are negative thinking patterns? What are thinking traps that people can very easily get to, and that has a very damaging effect on mental health? And what can you do about it? I really, honestly, I'm looking forward to tomorrow's video, and I hope you are as well. Do have a good day, and thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Once again, please remember to share with young people, share with people who work with young people and parents. And if I've shared this video with you, it's because I think you're an influencer in that territory. Thank you, and have a great day.